Let's talk anime. Hello and welcome to Brandon's Discuss Anime and Reckless Movie Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Horvath, and with me are my co-host, Brandon Falinger.
Hello. I'm a swing for the stands, man.
And Ryan Stokely.
I might have been probed.
Yes.
Only a little or a lot?
A little, I don't know. I don't know how many knuckles aliens have, but it was like 2 alien knuckles.
Was it like Destroy All Humans level of probing?
I don't know. Maybe?
I mean, because if it was, your brain would literally explode out of your body.
Okay, then obviously it wasn't that.
Because you saw aliens, from what I understand.
I saw UFOs. Now, this happened November 6th, 2:30 a.m. on the East Coast of America.
Setting the scene.
The scene, it's kind of cold. I was hungry, so I went to... This is a true story.
This just evolves in just, I was hungry, I took a shit,
Yeah, so I was hungry, and I wanted to go to a store near my house. I went there, came back, and there's not a lot of light pollution where I live at night, so
and
I
then
looked
you shot
up.
the gun, and you missed, and then you shot again.
Jesus Christ.
And you missed.
Yeah. And then I looked up, and I saw what I thought was a meteor shower. About 6, little balls of light were just shooting, back and forth. But I could see them when they weren't lit up. And they were just kind of going, really fast. Just playing around like tag or something. Zooming back and forth along the sky.
Huh. I mean, we did look at the video, because you posted it on your own personal channel.
Yeah.
Which will be linked in the description. And the camera's kind of garbage, and you admit that the camera's kind of garbage?
Yes. I wish I had my SD card in my actual camera, because I probably would have been able to catch them. Because you literally can't even see the stars.
Yeah, you can't. It's really dark. You see the blips of light, which you're saying are the ones that are flying around.
Yeah.
But that's about as far as we get.
Yeah, so I'm keeping that close. I'm looking... I have off part of this week, so I'm going to be outside. I'm going to be paying attention.
You're going to be freezing? Because it's death out there right now for us.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'll be looking. I'll catch them slipping.
I want to believe.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you got that.
Yeah, so that's my real life UFO story.
Jesus Christ.
And it was pretty cool. They were doing it for 20 to 30 minutes, I think.
Look forward to our interview with Alien Orion. He has been replaced. So here's the thing, right? We know he's been replaced if he actually knows what anime is now. That'll be the dead giveaway.
Yeah. So, have you seen this series? Why, yes, I have. Human.
Yes, I do like to watch the 2-dimensional men on your cube. Your vision cube.
He's just a duck alien for Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh my god, the duck aliens, yes!
Jesus fucking Christ. It just gets worse and worse.
Oh, the duck aliens, those were awesome characters.
And they always were British, for whatever freaking reason. They were British. I don't know what we're doing.
So, I got the Crash and Spyro trilogies on Steam.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
They're different than what I remember. Not saying they're awful, but the controls just feel a bit off.
Yeah, you were mentioning that, and I remember when they first came out hearing about how there's differences between them, and I mean not just visual, mechanical. There's differences between them and the originals. Like you were saying, hitboxes are more of a pill than a rectangle.
I think they tried to make all three games the same control scheme wise. 1, 2, and 3 on the original PlayStation version has their own differences.
Well, I believe wasn't 3 on PS2 and then 1 and 2 were on PS1?
No.
Okay, so they were all on
2
the same
and
console.
3 were on PlayStation 1.
Okay.
Then Wrath of Cortex, which was technically Crash 4, was on PlayStation 2, and then everything else was on advanced systems.
Okay. Yeah, I can't really. I've only played a bit of because I picked up the Crash Collection myself on Switch. I played a bit of 1. I was getting close to the end, and then I got other stuff to play and got distracted and haven't gone back to it yet. So I can't speak 100% about everything. But I mean, there are levels that are a bitch. Like, and you've mentioned to me like the bridge one specifically. I hate because of the angle that the camera's at, you cannot fucking tell whether you're on a plank or not.
Don't worry, a lot of people hated the bridge level.
Yeah, and you mentioned that to me, and I'm like, hey, I'm not crazy for hating this so much.
Yeah, I remember playing the first Crash Bandicoot on PlayStation, and the final boss was glitched. So every time I got to him, the game would freeze, and I couldn't beat him.
Sounds like it might just be your...
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was just my disc. I cleaned it and stuff, but yeah, didn't really play Spyro.
Yeah, I haven't either. I only played the one on GameCube. I discovered. I thought it was N64, but it must have been an early GameCube one. And I didn't appreciate it too much, so I never got into the series.
Yeah, I heard like anything past Crash 1, 2, and 3. And Spyro 1, 2, and 3 are hit and miss.
Mm-hmm. Like, so that game probably just shut me down on, the series in general then.
Yeah, like, there was, like, a really good Crash handheld. Like, the 2 Game Boy Advance ones were amazing from what I've heard review-wise. There was one Spyro on Game Boy Advance. I forget the title of that one, but that one was pretty decent. While there's like Crash Purple and Spyro Orange, which are crossover games. Those are complete garbage.
Like, I know, fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. My bad. So, yeah, ignore me. I'm just stupid.
Anything that you want to say before we go into anime?
I picked up Pokemon Sword yesterday.
Oh.
And there's been a lot of controversy about them reusing a bunch of shit lately, from the old games. And excuses as to why we don't have every single Pokemon in this one, rather than just, over half of them being cut out. And people apparently who had gotten early copies of the game before official release were saying there were glitches. I have yet to run into any glitches. I have not seen... I'm not very far in the game either. I haven't seen any of the old Pokemon, so I can't say anything about them reusing models. I can say that they've either reused or made very similar animations to previous moves that had already existed, which I'm not shocked by. Because, I mean, what are you really going to do for a move like Tail Whip besides, have the Pokemon jump, flip around, and wag its tail? I mean, in this case, you're just moving the model without actually giving it an animation all that much. So, I mean, I guess you could argue where's the actual animation for them, like, whipping the actual model's tail rather than just wagging the model back and forth. It seems like a bare bones update, honestly. I would have liked to have seen more. So, but again, I'm not super far in. I've barely gotten to past the tutorial areas. So yeah, if there's more to be seen, I will be seeing it eventually. If there's not, I will be happy that it's a Pokemon game, but disappointed that it's not better as good as it should be. It's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, there was that. I finished River City Girls. I forget if I mentioned that on the last one or not. I finished that. That was fun. That's great. fucking arcade beat 'em up. I want more arcade beat 'em ups to come back, or new ones to be made. They are still amazing to play.
Yeah, we haven't had beat 'em ups as a genre lately.
No, they haven't been around for a while. They kind of died off around the same time that the arcades were really dying, which is a shame because those are great. They're fun, and especially because I feel like this one also kind of evolves the genre, where they're like actively giving you reasons to like play, because it's no longer a quarter eater. You don't need that anymore because you're just making it for a system. It doesn't need to be super difficult and mean that you need to absorb people's quarters for money. You're selling a full-blown product, and that means that you can now evolve the genre further by like, you know, giving people money when they beat things, using that money to unlock new attacks and new moves for the characters. Now, maybe there are other ones that have done this that I just haven't played. It's completely possible, but it's a series that, you know, there's plenty of room for evolution with it because it's just been stagnant for so long. You have that opportunity to just completely push that level of what can a beat 'em up really be. And this one's even better because some bosses are played almost like a Mega Man boss to some degree, where it's just a 2D plane rather than being able to move up and down the level. There's one character that's literally just you're playing Guitar Hero now. Like, there are good fights in there, and they're constantly mixing up the mechanics with the bosses, and it's really interesting. And it's fun.
So, on to the main course of
As it were.
Ryan, Paranoia Agent.
Mm-hmm. That's a name?
Yes, Paranoia Agent.
I feel like I watched this before.
It's older. There's a chance you have.
It was on Adult Swim in 2005, with the original release date in Japan being early 2004.
Okay. All I think are like people with pixie cuts and like round glasses that are like psychic things. I don't know. Like like kind of like Psychic Avengers or something. They try to solve mysteries or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
But they have like, you know, purple hair, blue hair. They got those round John Lennon glasses.
The rest.
You know, like the weird jacket with like 3 buttons. Square shoulders. And they just like solve mysteries and
So is this sci-fi Scooby-Doo? Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, basically.
Well, there is a mystery element to this anime.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, so how close was I?
but since we didn't do this in October, it's going to be another spooky November episode.
Spooky scary.
So it's psychological thriller.
It's a spooky.
Yes, made by the same director of Tokyo Godfathers, which we covered last Christmas.
We should watch more of his stuff. This is also the only episodic show he's ever done. The only series. He's never done any other like series. It's always been movies.
And from what I understand, really, really weird, trippy movies.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. We should watch more of them because they seem really interesting.
Although I have no idea what it's about, but I heard he did Paprika, and I just remember going to see the Aqua Teen movie with my friend and some of his friends, and the trailer for Paprika comes up, and his friend just turns to me and says, "Who the fuck would name the kid Paprika?" To which I respond, Japanese people? And that was a good answer for him.
mean, I don't agree with that personally. I would say it's clearly Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper from Blue's Clues.
Oh God, they the Paprika Kid.
Am I scaring you with my knowledge? Is that what's happening here?
No, you're making me remember.
I'm making you remember. You wanted to forget.
No, it's just like, oh God, they did have a kid.
My God, I'm old.
Weren't they French?
No? Someone was, but I don't think it was them.
Oh, okay. But the town is under attack by a assailant on golden roller skates holding a bent baseball bat. And as the story develops, things start to get weirder.
It's true.
How weird.
Like, there is a copycat killer who eventually gets killed by the real Little Slugger.
Yeah, that's the kid's. That's the nickname for the killer, Lil Slugger, or Shonen Bato.
Or Bat Boy in English.
Yep.
I like Bat Boy. Remember seeing him in the tabloids? I wonder how he's doing now.
Weekly World News.
Yes. I haven't seen that around.
I don't know. I hear he's teaming up with Batman.
I think Weekly World News is only online now.
Okay.
Yeah. But the only way Lil Slugger could have killed his imposter was if he could phase through solid matter.
Because the imposter was literally locked up in a cell.
Wait, what happened?
The other question would also be like, how the hell did he get past everybody and get in there without them noticing? Plus, when they get there, the cell door is open, and there's no way the kid could have gotten his hands on a key.
And Little Slugger seems to target people who are in despair, who... How do they describe it?
People that are feeling emotionally cornered.
Thank you. So, how does this killer or assailant, since he doesn't really kill everybody?
Yeah, not everybody dies.
People die when they're killed.
Good job, Shiro. You've learned.
How does he know who to target? And the whole mystery aspect of it is we follow these two detectives as they investigate this case. And
well, not always. Like, not every episode is centered on the detectives. They are definitely main characters, but they're not our protagonists. Because there are episodes where they just straight up don't show up.
I wouldn't say this has a core protagonist.
It does not. It does not. There is no core protagonist. A lot of it's God, what's the term for it when you're jumping through a bunch of different characters and their own problems? God damn it. I'm blanking on the term.
Anthology.
That's it. It's very much an anthology. And more than anything else, I feel like the detectives involved in this they just happen to be involved with it because they're the ones investigating the case itself. But we're following the victims. Each and every episode is a different main character, it feels like, or for the most part, a different main character.
And they do get tied in with each other as the episodes progress.
Yeah, they keep finding connections between them. The original victim was a girl called Tsukiko Sagi, a character designer who was being put under pressure to create a new character to follow up her massive Hello Kitty-esque creation called Moromi, a dog with a massive head, which she starts going nutty and seeing this dog, like this plushy version of her dog, Moromi, living, essentially.
Talking, dancing,
I mean, it's got a really cool like animation style in that they take into account the fact that Moromi's got a massive head, so he's constantly like trying to flop around and balance that head as it's moving.
I just thought of freaking Gobbles, South Park. Timmy's Gobbles. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
It's fine.
I mean, I was done. I was just explaining Moromi. If you want to go ahead with your part, Brandon, you were continuing.
So it seems that Little Slugger tends to attack people who are cornered, so she is the first victim, but people don't really believe her story.
That, and there's a lot of inner office bullshit where a lot of the girls in that office hate her. So there's that fun part.
So a lot of people are saying, oh, she did this to herself. And a lot of people are saying, no, there's this assailant out there that attacked her. So what is happening? Oh, by the way, there's a second victim now.
Yep. A journalist that was trying to interview her. More of a tabloid journalist. You know, the ones that were interviewing you about your alien invasion theories.
Okay.
He's kind of scummy. I'm not gonna lie.
So then, the second episode focuses on a elementary school kid who is the best at everything. Except, there's a new kid in class that everybody loves.
I wouldn't say loves. He seems to perceive it as, like, replacing him. But the kid's just a regular kid.
Well, I was going to kind of get into that because we're seeing it for more through his eyes, that everybody loves.
It's true. That's what every episode is. We're seeing it through the victim's eyes.
And as the paranoia, gets to them. So then Little Slugger attacks the transfer student, and then Ichigo. Or was it just Ichi?
Like, I was gonna say, his name's not Ichigo, it's Ichi something. I don't remember off the top of my head.
You know what? They're both voiced by Johnny Young Bosch.
I mean, cool. I watched the dub or the sub, so
okay,
that doesn't matter to me.
I watched the dub, so yay.
Scum. How dare you?
What was super interesting is when I was watching the dub on the place where I was watching it, it was listed as Paranoia Agent for the Japanese dub, and then Mosu Dainin for the English version.
That is strange. For me, where I ended up watching it on Dailymotion, it's literally free on there. A lot of different people have posted the episodes, so you can't watch it on the same like channel, essentially. Yeah, it was the same. They gave it both titles. They gave it Paranoia Agent, the name in Japanese, and then whatever the episode was. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting way of putting it, but I mean, I guess it's searchable now. Like, if you know it by the other name, you can look for both now. So that might just be for like search efficiency, the way I saw it, but the fact that it's reversed for you is interesting.
Yeah, but the only problem with Go-Go Anime is their ads are sometimes way out of date. Like, I think I even showed you a picture of an Easter ad.
You did. I don't know if it was for this series, but it was for one of the series we watched. Yeah.
No, I think it may have been Sword Art.
It might have been.
Yeah, and that was like 2 months ago, and I was getting Easter ads, and I'm like,
man, they're ahead of the curve.
I'm like, what the hell?
You mean you pay for a subscription to watch these shows, right? You wouldn't watch them illegally.
I mean, technically, I'm not watching anything illegally. They have the full option to take it down on Dailymotion, and they haven't, so...
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they have not done it, therefore this is fine.
True.
They are legally allowing us to watch it by not taking it down.
Yeah.
All right.
Good thoughts.
I love how I found like a bullshit workaround for this.
Yeah. Well, you see, it's basically the Chewbacca defense you just did, dude.
You mean I just go ah, and that's it?
No,
That's the defense.
Ewoks are from Endor, or from Endor.
But how does he live with little people? He's a 7-foot tall Wookiee. Why would he live on Endor?
You can be their king. You can be their tallest. That's how.
The Wookiee, the Chewbacca. Two South Park references in one episode. All right.
But I just loved when the animation got really weird or changed, because when they're talking to the copycat, he's under the delusion he's fighting a video game monster, and he is said hero from the video game.
Like, this is the most interesting bit about Paranoia Agent, is that the animations change as the show goes on, and it's because it's taking on the aspects of the person we're centered on. It's taking on their own paranoia. Like, for him, it was that. For, like, Sagi, for one of the detectives, when it eventually gets to him, it's literally like cardboard cutouts of, like, 1950s Japan.
I was wondering, was that real? Because he's like, a fish vendor calls him over and he says like, oh, that'll be 5 yen. Well, like, that'll be 50 yen. Oh, and here's something for you, little girl. And hands Tsukiko like some candy or something. And I'm just going, is that actually happening? Or is he just down some random alley just...
Well, here's the thing, right? It's probably actually happening. However, he's interpreting it to be like this. Like, it's not actually happening in the way he's seeing it, but there is something going on in, like, reality, right? Like, he would be going to a place and getting a pack of smokes. It's just, he's seeing it like it's this 1950s Japan cardboard cutout bullshit.
And when they were within the world, quote unquote, of the copycat, with them running around up the tower with the balloon, what was the hot air balloon supposed to be?
If I had to guess, I would say that was an elevator, whereas the other cop missed the elevator.
Oh.
I'm going to say that's what it was.
Okay. Because there were just certain little aspects of people's paranoia that I'm like, what is this actually supposed to be?
Like, that's the interesting bit, because everything that's happening there is technically happening in reality. It's just the way they're interpreting it is fucking with everything. The other detective, the lieutenant that's right underneath him or whatever, I forget his name.
Minawa,
that's right. He starts losing it and like starts going through the same aspects that the kid was, where they're talking to this really old man who seems like he's hyper senile, but everything he says seems to add up, at least in their own paranoia, to what's going to happen next, or in the case of the copycat killer, what target to hit next. And it's fascinating because it makes you wonder, is this old man someone who's been through something similar to this before, but, you know, because he's so far gone at this point, it's only coming back to him in bits and pieces? Is he just a crazy old man that's spouting nonsense, you know, that these people are interpreting to be something amazing when it's really just their own minds that are putting these pieces together?
So,
and I mean, at the end of every episode, at the end of the credits, you got the old man in a suit talking to you about what's going to happen in the next episode in some random ambiguous way. And at the last episode, it's Minawa who's talking to you about the ending of the series in the same suit with the crazy white hair all of a sudden.
So midway through the series, we find out Tsukiko actually did hurt herself. And there may not be a real little slugger, except then we find out about the death of the copycat.
I don't know how far I want to push this before spoiling completely the ending of this. I don't think we should. We can talk about aspects of like one of the victims where she's literally got a split personality and she's constantly flipping back and forth in a struggle between them.
Because the last episode is just insane.
Yeah, it gets more and more symbolic, like what's going on, especially in the last two episodes. Yeah, it's hard to say specifically what's going on because of that. It's like giant black sludge washing over a city.
And makes me go, is that real? Or is the entirety of Tokyo now going insane?
And this is where we start getting into like drawing parallels to real life. And you and I had discussed this a little bit prior to this, like a few days ago, where we get into like examples of this shit that has actually happened. Like, what was it? The 1500s or so dancing plague, where quite literally it started off as one woman randomly walking out into the street and just dancing, followed by multiple other people, going on for days, almost to a month in some records, with
Some
people
of these
dying.
people, dance themselves to death.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then at the end of that month or at the end of the period, they just stopped and went back home. No explanation. Nobody understands why it happened. It just happened. The miracle of the sun that happened back in, like, what was it, 1800s, I want to say?
I think it was early 1900s.
Or it might be, okay, fine, that's fair. Early 1900s, where a bunch of girls seem to claim that, hey, Mary, Mother of God, has told us that there's going to be a miracle at this day, this time, etc., etc. And tons of people showed up, and everyone seems to think that something different happened. Something with the sun happened. Whether it's the sun moving around like your alien lights, whether it's the sun setting and rising again, whether it's the sun, just literally looping through the sky. Like, everybody seemed to have a different thing to say about what happened that day.
Yeah.
October 13th, 1917.
Yeah, there you go, 1917. I keep thinking it's later than that because it's hard to believe it was that early, like that close to our current time period.
You mean, like later, as in farther ago, okay.
Yeah, like further back in time. Because that's just barely over 100 years old at this point. Then there's like the point of, honestly, and this happened more recently. Remember the clown issue we had like a few years ago? Where literally over Britain and even in England, actually this happened, over in England and here, there were a crazy amount of like insane violent clown attacks, supposedly. Inspiring copycats, inspiring, a whole bunch of people to bullshit stories. And in some cases, there were actually deaths because of actual copycat killers. Like, it's stuff that happens. And when I first watched this series, this is my second watch through. When I first watched this series like 3 years ago, I dove into that hole of just like, what the hell is mass paranoia, mass hysteria? Because that's what this show is all about, is just mass hysteria and the way that technology can make it worse. Because as the series goes on, Little Slugger himself becomes more and more monstrous because of the rumors and the gossip and shit that's just going on. Hell, there's an episode where we're watching a bunch, like 3 friends meet up for the first time, only to find out that they're trying to kill themselves.
Okay, 3 people try to kill themselves may not sound like good times, but literally, it is the funniest episode in this series.
It's kind of also the darkest when you start reading into it more and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
The one dude literally lost his wife, and that's why he's tired of living. The other guy's a pariah because he's gay. And then the child is from a family that doesn't want her. The child's unwanted. Just straight up.
Just like the situations that happen are like darkly funny.
I think that's intended too.
Especially when they meet up with Little Slugger and he's terrified of them.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. You find out at the end of the episode, but I'm not spoiling that. That's a good one.
Yeah. But I think my favorite has to be the Gossipy Women episode.
Oh my god, that was like how her husband has apparently been attacked by Little Slugger, and all she cares about is the fact, like, how did it happen? You need to tell me. Oh my god, how did you die? Not that he's literally like bleeding out in front of her. How did it happen? Don't call the ambulance.
I want a good story.
I need to tell them a good story. And that's just social pressure in general, driving someone insane.
We'll have to talk about this a little bit more off camera because I have a few questions about the series that I think I know what happened, but might not.
You don't really want to spoil any more than we already have.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I mean, people here know that we spoil things. This one I don't want to give everything away because it's very good.
And then once you know it, you'll view the series completely differently.
Oh yeah, you'll see it completely differently. You'll be looking at it in a new way. And even me just watching it a second time through is picking out shit that I hadn't noticed before, or shit that I hadn't put together because I didn't know the ending at the time.
And like I said at the end of the last episode, I haven't seen this in 9-ish years, so God, maybe it was 14 now that I'm thinking about the original release date of it, but I only remembered bits and pieces of it, so maybe I'll go back and watch it again in like a month or two and be like, oh yeah, this is different now.
Mm-hmm. I watched it right after the clown thing had been happening, which would probably have been like 2014, or not 2014, 2015 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say. Might have even been 17. But like watching this and then seeing that was just like a mind blow of like, what the fuck?
So Ryan, any other questions that we might not be able to fully answer?
Not really. I just kind of get the feeling games is kind of like X-Files. Or the show is like X-Files.
Kind of?
The way you guys are explaining it. Where like every episode's different, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like with them trying to solve something every episode.
It's the same problem though. It's not a different problem.
Okay.
It's just a new victim for the same case.
Okay. How many seasons?
Just one. 13 episodes.
Really?
13 episode.
Okay.
And unfortunately, wait, where is it? Satoshi Kon died about 10 years ago at the young age of 46, so...
And it is a shame, because you wonder what he would say about today's society from just based on Paranoia Agent.
And I would just love to see what he'd be doing now with, like, his symbolicness with the weirdness.
Yeah, I would love to see it, because there is a lot, from what I've heard, there is a lot of overlapping themes throughout the movies and stuff that he's done. Like, I'd love to see Perfect Blue. That sounds like it's real weird.
I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that may have been the inspiration for Black Swan?
I can't say.
I know one of his works was. Maybe.
Like, it is a very good series, is my point, and it's got a lot of, like, interesting things to say. about how we consume media, about how shit can get out of control so easily because of how connected we are. Like, Paranoia Agent happened within a single city. The clown thing, which happened, what, like 10 years after this series premiered, literally spanned countries. The thing is, this series is more and more interesting. The more, like, here's the other interesting bit. This series predicted a lot of shit because it came out literally like a handful of years, like 2, before a lot of the major social media bullshit that we have now. Like, I think Facebook launched like maybe months after this premiered. I think YouTube fully launched like a year, and then Twitter was like 2 years. Within a handful of years, our media evolved ridiculously compared to what this was, and this more or less predicted how insane that could make things. Look at current movements we have, and I'm not trying to show this in any terrible light or anything, but just drawing some parallels here. Look at how crazy things like the Me Too movement, for example, could it have gotten this far without such a interconnected society that we have nowadays? Could the Black Lives Movement have done that? Could any of these social movements, for good or ill, have gotten to the point that they are now without that interconnection that we have? And if this series had been made just 3 years, let's say, like after Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the other shit had come out, if it was made like 3 years after that, how much different would it be? How many other places would, Lil Slugger have found his way into? Would this be less a single city and more a global threat?
Oh god, that would be horrifying.
Hell, look at the news nowadays and how it just constantly points out all the terrible shit that's happening.
Yeah, it's basically all news is.
It's constantly just fear-mongering over stuff that's not as big a deal as it actually is. As simple as, like, looking back at, say, like, the swine flu, when that thing was going on. I never found anybody that ever got it, or the avian flu. I never knew anybody that had it. But the news was all like, oh my god, 60,000 people are dying.
On a slightly happier note, Toshi Kon, who, and I think I mentioned this to you, Brandon, one of his inspirations was Monty Python.
Yeah, I'd love to know how that got in there. Specifically, what points were inspired by it.
Well, a lot of his works, or at least some of his works, was inspired. According to Terry Gilliam, he blogged about watching Monty Python.
Like I said, I'd love to know where specifically he was taking inspiration from and where it is in his series. And this just comes down to me not having seen a lot of it, which is fine. But I'd love to know which ones have like some direct inspiration from it.
Or maybe just like the shift in art style.
Or yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's right. It could very well be just that drastic shift in art style. It could be like the dark comedy that is that Suicide episode.
Like the cheese shop sketch.
Or hell, when the girl that's got like twin personalities fighting with each other for control. When she's getting attacked by Little Slugger, she literally looks like a clown. Her makeup's smeared all over the place, and she just looks like a messed up clown. I actually, and here I'm gonna give a shout out to a guy who talks about this series and did a fucking amazing job. Super Eye Patch Wolf. I will link that video to you, and I want you to put that in the description for him.
Okay.
Because that breakdown he does is great. To the point where, like, he even brings up, like, I think it's Tsuchikoni Onna or something like that. A thing that went on in Japan, I think it was in the 80s. I could be wrong. But it was, like, this rumor that was going on about this woman who, like, had this, I think it was a gash for a smile in her face. Kind of like if you want to take a look at Joker from Dark Knight, I want to say. Except without just scars, with it actually being cut all the way open. Who would abduct children. Literally in Japan, it got to the point where, like, they were literally putting laws in place over a fictional story. Like, they were putting curfews on kids to get in earlier. They were making sure kids were constantly accompanied by adults for a story that had no substance to it. outside of rumors and shit.
Wow.
I would highly recommend anybody go watch that thing. He goes to start it. He'll start into your breakdown, and he will give you a decent, spoiler warning about, hey, if you don't want me to completely destroy this series for you for the first time watching it, get the fuck out right now. Come back later. And while we've done a decent job of just, cutting into this series, we have not broken down and just completely linked everything together that this series has. Just for the sake of having you people go and watch it. Yeah, no, if you're interested in this, if you've already watched it, go watch his. It's called Why You Should Watch Paranoia Agent. It's really good. And I highly recommend, Brandon, since you've watched it, go watch that video next. It's like a half hour. It's real good. And it'll break down stuff more than just what we've done here.
I think I will, because knowing the way it ends, I now have a lot more questions about this series in whole.
Mm-hmm. He's also got a very sexy Irish voice. If that's your deal, there you go.
I think you showed me one of his videos before.
I think I mentioned him before too. I forget which series though.
And speaking about Irish people, what? And jumping all the way back to River City Girls.
Oh God.
Isn't Jacksepticeye a main character, or doesn't he voice a?
He's a side character, yes.
Okay.
Here, let me just tell you this, and this is more about the game than Jacksepticeye himself, and it's not going to spoil anything. But there is an item you can get in that game. It's literally called Pepper Spray, and it gives you better rewards for that character's missions. Take that as you will. Literally, that's what it does.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of his videos, but I recognize his voice.
It's hard to miss. If you've heard him once, you'll know immediately that that's him, because he doesn't really mask his voice much. I think he tries to downplay the accent a little bit, but that's about it.
So, Ryan, I know you have a lot of anime that we're recommending.
What?
Yeah.
No, the list is just out the door. He's seen them all, right? He's the alien. He knows.
Yeah, you watch them all. But if this is a season, I might actually just watch it.
13 episodes.
That's all it is.
Yeah, I'd watch it. Sounds interesting.
It is very interesting.
It's definitely one of those where it's just like, once you start, it's going to be real hard to put down, because you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on?
Damn it. I just realized that we didn't plan for what's next.
No, we have not. So it'll be a surprise to both you and us.
Nice.
I think and this may change, we're going to be having a anime buffet next time.
I'm just going to go ahead and say okay, because I don't remember what that's referencing. I can think of like one, but I'm not sure if that's it or not.
Alright, so later.
Bye.
Cheers.